Hello subscribers and non-subscribers, and welcome to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4, The Great War mod. So this is a series that I'm going to be having replace Let's Play Mount and Blade Warband 1860s Old America, while I try to get that series to hopefully be at a point in time where it's interesting to watch. Because it stands right now, I don't personally think that series is interesting to watch. There's really nothing too interesting about it going on. We're in a war in that series, but it's a war that nobody's going to fight in, neither my side nor the enemy side. And while, because of that, technically our side could declare war on somebody else who we would actually fight, the AI, in all of its brilliance, decides that's a terrible idea. Just because it's already in a war. That's literally its reason. So, yeah. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to play this mod in the meantime. And hopefully, by the time I finish this series, which honestly I don't think will be particularly long, it mostly depends on how long it takes for us to push through France, which is actually going to be a bit of a pain until later in the war. Unless the AI goes full retard and decides to completely abandon the front, which honestly could happen. It doesn't seem to happen so much in 1.4, although I certainly have seen it happen in previous versions of the game and whatnot, so yeah. But in the meantime, nonetheless, let's go ahead and start. So, obviously we're going to be starting in 1910. So, the powder keg of Europe. 1910 is a challenging time for the peace in Europe. The Italians are preparing for a war with the Ottomans, which will threaten their hold in the Balkans. Rebellion in Morocco is beginning to boil over, much to the anguish of France and the delight of the German Empire. All in all, either clear heads will be needed to keep the peace, or strong hearts to win the war. And obviously we're going to play as German, because why wouldn't you? I mean, we could play as the Ottomans, we could play as the Italians, but no, we're going to play as the Germans. And I want to mention, the mod recently added in the Second Treaty of Frankfurt, which should be noted, is not a real treaty, but it's something they added in so you don't have to go and try and capitulate the US, which is a real pain in the ass. I just want to make sure that's noted. It is a real pain to try and capitulate the US, because you have to take out the French, and the British, and the Russians, and the Japanese, and the Chinese, and the Serbians, not Siberians. I don't know why I was going to say Siberians. Mexico will pretty much always refuse to agree to the Zimmerman telegram, so there's basically no point in sending it. As Germany, we have the option to try and invite Sweden to the Central Powers, but to do that, we need to be at war with the Russian Empire, and guess what? Chances are, by the time we get around to being able to do that, which is, I believe, 1917 sometime, chances are by then you've already forced the Russians out of the war. Because you've gotten the Soviets to come into power in Russia. So, again, personally I feel as though the mod needs a little bit of work in some of those aspects. Personally, I think invite Sweden to the Central Powers needs to either have the fact that you need to wait till sometime, again, I believe 1917 to be able to do it, needs to be lowered to, say, 1915 or 1916. Or just straight up removed. Because, again, generally speaking, you're not going to be in a war with the Russians anymore by the time you're able to do that. Because if you're like me, you'll generally go with the plan of kick the Russians out of the war first, get the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, which personally I would love to see as a national focus rather than as an event, and then go and move those troops to go and help the Austrians deal with the Italians and the Serbians, maybe liberate the Ottomans, because chances are they've already capitulated. And then after you've done all of that, move those troops to go and support a advance through France, which should be noted. The one issue this mod also has is that you're generally not going to be able to push through, in my experience at least, the Netherlands and Belgium fast enough to be able to even really reenact the actual trench lines that existed in France. You're generally not going to get into northern France without pushing through France itself, in my experience. So, yeah. Okay, but let's go ahead and read our brief history here. So, what was once 35 different independent nations is now the German Empire, seen by many as one of the world's foremost powers, if not the strongest of them all. However, There are many who would trifle with such a state. The German enemy of France has formed the Triple Entente with themselves, the UK, and Russia, all far stronger than Germany's own weak allies. With just old Austria and disloyal Italy, Germany needs either more friends or more power to survive the coming times. And just kind of giving us an idea as a couple of our national focus options here. Generally speaking, I never get down to the Adegar crisis. It's generally done by the French for me because the French seem to beeline down that route, but I don't. And then, yeah, we have General Staff, the North German Confederation legacy for national unity, and then we have Scramble for Africa like a lot of the other European powers. In fact, I'm pretty sure like everyone except the Austro-Hungarians and the Russians as well, it looks like, when it comes to Europeans, have Scramble for Africa, which is kind of helpful. But it's not exactly all that useful. Really, its only usefulness is the plus 0.1% to recruitable population. That's its only real use. Let's go ahead and start up. So, because of the fact that, well, the AI is absolutely brain dead, I'm going to give Austria-Hungary 2 ticks. I'm going to give the Ottomans 2 ticks. And I'm going to give us 1 tick for custom difficulty. Because, again, in particular, Austria-Hungary and the Ottomans are completely brain dead, in my experience. They're really not that great. And then we'll need a little bit just because, at the end of the day, it's going to be us fighting the bulk of the war. In fact, really, I could give Austria-Hungary and the Ottomans full ticks, and they would probably still get their... They would probably still get destroyed. In particular, the Ottomans would probably still capitulate, because that's just how terrible they are. But no, we're going to give them 2 ticks. We'll give ourselves 1. This should not be completely overpowered. I still expect to win the war by probably 1917, 1918. Because when I played for myself, I gave myself 2 ticks and finished by February 1918, if I recall correctly. So yeah, that's the way it's going to be. China's going to end up in a war against us because the Republic of China seems to always form. The only time I didn't have the Republic of China form was one time in a much earlier version of the mod and the game, obviously, as well, where the Qin Dynasty somehow managed to survive. I don't know how, but they did, which was great. But they didn't do anything. It just kept them out of the war, and I still ended up pretty sure I'd still end up declaring war on them just so I could actually get a decent number of ports to invade Japan, because, yeah, at that time they didn't have the Second Treaty of Frankfurt, so you needed to capitulate every single great power, which was annoying. But now I don't have to do that. Now I just got to push far enough into France, and then select the option to force a capitulation of the Entente. So yeah, we're going to give ourselves, like I said, 1 tick, and 2 ticks for our major allies. I could give Bulgaria a tick as well, and I think I will, actually, just so that, again, they're not completely retarded. They at least have a little bit of power. Okay, and let's go ahead and select all of our infantry. And let's split it in half. And I'm going to make you guys the Russian front, and you're going to be the French front, and I'm going to make the French front red, and I'm going to make you guys blue. And let's go ahead and give you guys Field Marshal. So we'll have the the Russian front be led by Field Marshal von Goltz, or Gallwitz, excuse me. And the French front shall be led by Duke Albert of Württemberg. And also, because we don't really need armor so much on the French front, let's go and move it over here to the Soviet front, or excuse me, the Russian front, and that is how many? 6 units? Okay, so select 6 random infantry. I'd rather actually go with the good infantry, actually. Okay. And then move you guys over there, and you guys, everybody over there. Everybody over there, and now you're all set up and ready to go. Now, you guys are going to all combine into 1 fleet. You're going to all combine into 1 fleet. You're going to combine into 1 fleet, then head over there so you can combine with them. You, and you guys are going to be situated in the African theater. Just call it Africa. And that reminds me, you are going to have high priority for Europe because that's where the bulk of the fighting will take place. We're not going to call it Europa. Okay, and you guys are all going to situate yourselves right there. I don't need you, so I'm going to add you guys to the African front, which is going to grow once the war starts. It's going to have to wait until the war starts to really grow. And let's see, I do want to mention, I don't believe our service fleets will really do too much in this war. It's just the way it is. Oh, I did not mean to select him. I wanted to sort. Excuse me. There we go. And there. And our subs will probably manage to get themselves wrecked because of just how imbalanced some aspects of the mod are. We're going to go down the political effort tree, and we're going to go ahead and research trenches so we can get started on that. Research oil extraction so we can get literally no real oil. We're basically talking like decimal amounts of oil, so we're not really going to get anything. Basic hand tools, and then we are going to go ahead and what do I want to do? Do I want to go ahead and start on the land doctrine? I think I will start on the land doctrine, yeah. Okay, and this mod does not actually have the infrastructure aid in building time, so yeah, infrastructure is only really useful if you need supply. Okay, we are going to go and add in heavy artillery for our infantry in the future. It's going to be a little while. I do want you guys to focus predominantly on those. Yeah, we don't need a whole lot of that right now. I know, game. I do want to go ahead and get myself a military theorist. It doesn't matter which, they all do the same stuff, so it's really just a matter of whose name do you prefer. And, oh yes, you guys. Well, okay, you guys are going to become Ersan's divisions because they're just a little bit easier to deal with. They're not great units. You guys are all going to become Strasstruppen, and your infantry is all going to become Strasstruppen as well. But first things first, I need to deselect all of your non-infantry units, which I don't know why. The game has an issue where it will tend to scroll you back up to the top of the list. It's an issue that I've noticed with a lot of the menus. I presume it was added in with 1.4. I don't know why. And you guys will also all become Strasstruppen. And we have, okay, about a year until we get all the field artillery, a little over a year for the infantry equipment, and we're looking at 2.5 years roundabout for motorized. That's fine. And yeah, we probably won't have all the support equipment by the end of the piece. And actually, no, you guys, excuse me, never mind. You are going to become those. Those, or is it? I don't remember which one I put in here in my game. I think it might have been these guys, but let me check the difference between you. You guys are 3x3 infantry, you are 2x2 infantry. Okay, it's probably the 2x2 infantry then. Oh yes, and you guys need a general now. You don't need a field marshal so much, so I'm gonna go and give you guys von Littow-Vorbeck. He's probably the better dude for you guys. Also, add more Strasstruppen. No, actually, let's go and research the, or excuse me, not research. Get these. I think I need at least 40 for us to guard along our entire coastline. Also, we're going to want to have at least one level of coastal forts along our entire fort to discourage the Entente from launching naval invasions. And when I say discourage, I mean just make it so that they lose a couple hundred troops every time they launch one of those invasions. Let's go ahead and add in some more civilian factories to some of our location, or excuse me, military factories. Help if I paid better attention to what was what. It's fine. You guys are 2, you guys are 7. 2, 7, 2 convoys. We're gonna need them. And we're not gonna end up in a war, well, at least the plan isn't to end up in a war with the Netherlands, because they have pretty much all the rubber that we'll ever be able to get, so we're gonna make sure to avoid a war with them. Yeah, they got a decent chunk of rubber. Obviously, Singapore still has the bulk of the rubber, but yeah, not gonna be able to get that. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and trade with the Austro-Hungarians for the bit of oil that we need, and we're gonna kick the game up to 5 speed. Because there's literally no reason for me not to. And I could go and make the game a little bit easier with actual difficulty stuff. But no, we're going to go with not today for basically normal difficulty minus the custom difficulty stuff that I added. Also, don't know why my spacebar seems to be having some problems. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna make purple. Why? Just because I can. That's not even purple, that's like magenta, whatever. And pathfinding has gotten itself broken. It's confused as to how to get down there. Now it's figured it out. We're not going to go and establish plans, so okay, we have the Albanian revolt. The Albanians refused to submit to the Turks. A new Albanian uprising in Kosovo in the northern mountains. Ottoman government declared martial law and sent a military expedition. So this will eventually become labeled as internal conflict territory. Basically a variation of occupied. That I don't know if base game actually has. I don't think it does. South Africa came into being on May 31st, 1910 with the unification of the previously separate colonies of the Cape Natal, Transvaal, and the Orange Free State. The Union of South Africa was founded as a dominion of the British Empire. The Union is formed, and yep, why am I not surprised that you split that into 2 different groups? Let's go ahead and reorganize you guys. I do want a capitulation of South Africa as soon as possible, where you're going to also have to go ahead and deal with Portugal, because Portugal obviously always joins the war, because, hey, it's Portugal. They did basically nothing in the war, but they're still going to be in it. And, okay, change of plans. Where's our, smaller... Oh, okay, never mind. They already arrived there, apparently. I was not expecting them to have already arrived there, but apparently they did. And we are going to be reorganizing some of these troops. Excuse me. Whoops. No, you guys replaced with heavy artillery and artillery, the 20 width. Okay, and I can already do this. That's wonderful. Obviously, I don't have the heavy artillery or the field guns necessary to do this right now, but I'd rather you guys already be there and ready to go. Also, I'll probably be removing the support artillery for you guys and replacing with something else, depending. There's a lot of Strasstruppen, should be noted, and we're going to reinforce the Kaiser's authority. I'm not allowed to go and contest the Kaiser's authority until after 1916, so guess what? This route will pretty much never be used. Yeah, I feel as though, again, there are aspects of this mod that definitely need to be reworked to a degree. Let's go and get Krug for the industrial research time. Aid in researching Vauban's works on defense, so fortifications seem like a no-brainer to construct, and to a degree this much is the case. However, effective design and positioning of force is important to get any serious use out of them, and Vauban's works, despite being published hundreds of years ago, still ring true to this day. Studying this will allow superior fortification construction, i.e. level 1 trenches. Let's go ahead and get human powered transport for the construction speed. And let's go ahead and queue up some of our trenches, because we're going to need some. Not so much going to need them up there, but I'll go ahead and build all the way up to there, just so we can. I shouldn't really need them over here on the Russian border, but we're going to do that anyway. Okay, I believe that those two connect, so we'll do that. I certainly don't think I need 2 wide. And I'd much rather focus on building the ones on the French front first, or along the base of the Western Front first. Okay, so Japan-Korea Annexation Treaty. The Korean Empire, a Japanese puppet state since the assassination of Queen Min in 1895, has just signed a treaty with the Japanese government that resulted in full annexation. Though the Russian Empire and the United States are complaining about this measure, no official actions have been taken against Japan yet. It seems that Korea's long legacy will go out with nothing more than a whimper. Oh well. So, there's the Empire of Japan, now owning Korea, in July of 1910. We'll get a lot of manpower, I should mention that. Once we research a couple of technologies, let's go ahead and get heavy industry. Oh, well, no, let's actually get trench excavation. We'll get heavy industry in the next round of techs that finish. Once we have military youth, let me see. Yeah, militarism and military youth will increase the amount of recruitable population we have by quite a bit. I believe it's 5% each. Okay, and game's telling me I have oh yes, I forgot to give you guys an actual location to deploy to, didn't I? I don't really care if you guys aren't all fully trained. It doesn't matter too much. Also, whoops. You guys, I'm gonna make you orange, and I'm gonna give you guys the sort of castle-looking thing to indicate that you are for defense purposes only, and we'll have the Crown Prince of Bavaria lead you. And I need to remember to tell you guys, only guard naval bases, coastlines, and that's literally all I want you to defend, is our coastline. Which will expand because of the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk. So we need 34 right now. Really, only 34? I thought it was 40. Well, we'll definitely need 40 eventually anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. And obviously, because this is the first part in a new series, this is going to be a slightly longer than usual part. Most of these parts should probably only be roughly 30 minutes long in reality, but as it stands right now, it's going to be probably 40. Or round about there at least. Okay, we've reinforced the Kaiser's authority. Let's go and get militarism. This will allow us to send volunteers. Technically speaking, I could build a small military so that I could go and send volunteers to the Qin dynasty. Hopefully help them win against the Republic of China. In fact, now that I think about it, that sounds like a brilliant idea. I think we'll do that, just because we can. Not so much because it's a great idea. Okay, but still, we need militarism before we can actually send volunteers. This will also give us a recruitable population of 5% and 2% for military youth later. And that's finished. Let's go ahead and let's see. I have a couple of options. I don't believe Fortification Engineer will help with trenches, because I don't know if trenches are actually labeled as land forts when it comes to the way they're considered for that stuff. I do want to go ahead, however, and get somebody who's an artillery specialist. So we're going to get Rugier von der Goltz for the plus 10% to artillery attack and plus 5% to artillery defense. Because, hey, he'll be helpful. I'm sure of it. Okay, I have the option of either retraining a couple of Strasstruppen divisions, or I can just go and split some off of one of these armies, which I'll probably just split some off of one of these armies. Okay, our dudes sitting on the French front are no experience whatsoever, so that's probably not the best idea, although it looks as though it's a similar story over on this front. Okay, well then, I'm gonna go and snag a couple of your guys. I don't know how many I really need. I don't even know how many I'd be able to send. We'll hold off on that until we have finished the tech. And then I'll look into how many we can send. The game should tell me once I have the option to click send. Oh, world tension needs to be 40%. Okay, then it really doesn't matter, because world tension is not going to instantly shoot up to 40% when the Qin dynasty ends up in a war with the Republic of China. Okay, let's go ahead and get heavy industry 1 for the plus, really more so the plus 10% of factory output, but the increase to max factories in a state is also helpful. Portugal becomes a republic. Mirroring their former colony Brazil, the Republicans of Portugal have coupled, or cooed, the monarchy. A string of blunders by the monarchy, mostly concerning the colonies and technological development, provoked a very small band of rebels to come together, which quickly earned the support of nearly the entire military. Though the issues the monarchy face are unlikely to be easily solved anytime soon, at least the anger of the public is quenched, for now. The Portuguese Republic is proclaimed. And of course the flag that you get when you hover over is a different flag than the flag that you get when you actually click on them. Because reasons. Okay, we got oil extraction, which will help us a little bit for overall resource gain efficiency. We get a little bit more if we go and get mining 1, but let's go ahead and get improved hand tools for an increase to our production efficiency cap. And I forgot to go ahead and move some more trenches up to the top of that list, because honestly the trenches are a little bit more important to me. Okay, we got trench excavation. Now we can build level 10 trenches, which is actually going to be helpful. But we just probably won't really do it too much. We're not going to bother with Marines because they're going to be completely worthless for us. And let's go ahead and get some better artillery soft attack for both support and line artillery. Okay, and our trenches, you guys need to be upgraded, in particular those on the front lines with France. We'll upgrade the ones that are already finished over here. And I should not need 2 lines. Should not and don't need, though, are 2 completely different things. So we'll go ahead and have those also get upgraded to level 10 as well, those in the rear. The ones that are particular... That one should not get attacked unless I end up in a war with the Netherlands, which should not happen. In fact, this one doesn't need to get upgraded either. That one doesn't need to get upgraded either, or at least it shouldn't. So yeah, we'll focus on the ones that border Luxembourg, Belgium, and France. The ones over here on the line with Russia, they definitely should not need it. If they do, something's gone horribly, horribly wrong. And I need 2 of these guys, and I need 41 divisions each. Berlin, you guys are gonna go there. One of you. Actually, no. You guys are gonna go to the Russia front. That's definitely gonna need more troops, so we can hopefully force a capitulation as quickly as possible. Obviously, we don't have the manpower we need, as you can tell. And then we'll have you guys go there. In fact, I want you to deploy a little bit closer, so deploy down there in Munich. Also, I'm going to tell you guys to focus on the troops that are already out in the field first, not the troops that are sitting in the rear. We won't have that issue with manpower. It will relatively quickly deal with itself. Let's go ahead and get... I kind of would prefer Oscar, although I suppose Wilhelm could be useful for allowing our troops to push through quickly at points where we manage to make a breakthrough. But I've always gone with Oscar, and can't say I've had any serious problems with Oscar. We're going with Oscar. Because, yeah, I've gone with Oscar. No serious issues with Oscar. There we go, we got militarism. Now let's go and get military youth to give us some extra manpower, because I still don't think that 3 million is actually enough. No, I certainly don't think it is. Also, for Quinn, do I still need... Yeah, I still would need world tension above 50%. Because I am because you're authoritarian and we're authoritarian, so for me to send you volunteers it needs to be over 40, and for you to receive volunteers it needs to be over 40. So again, that's not going to happen. Also, scrap those for the time being. I forgot, I do need to build some more of those, don't I, though? And you know what? I'm going to put you guys down to 1. I'm just going to tell you guys to focus on finishing those up as soon as possible. And do that. I should only really need 3 of those, all things considered. Okay, Revolution in Mexico on October 5th. It's November, just ignore that fact. Madero issued a letter from jail known as the Plan de San Lucas Potosi, or however it's pronounced, something like that. I'm not really good with non-English, basically. With its main slogan, Sufrago Efectivo, no re-elección, free suffrage and no re-election. It declared the Diaz presidency illegal and called for revolt. Diaz is too old. So Mexico declared war on the Mexican opposition. I don't remember which one it is that we need, though. You're Madero, you're a Republican. Okay, so we really would need Diaz to win. For us, personally. We would gain a benefit if Mexico wins. Is Mexico going to win? Probably not. They almost never do. In my experience, at least. But do I need... Is it specifically Mexico? No. Okay, it's the Mexican opposition. Okay. That's nice. That's interesting. Because the Mexican opposition is the democratic form of Mexico. While Mexico is the authoritarian version of Mexico. So I would think we would want Diaz to be able to do that, but apparently we don't need Diaz to do it. I certainly won't complain about it, though. And yeah, then I'll add those all these other ones to actually do convoys. Although, no, I could stand to have some more submarines, I suppose. U-boat division, do that for all eternity. Also, get rid of the damn coastal subs. Oh, they're all coastal subs. Why are they all coastal subs? Oh boy, game. Oh boy. Okay, do I have any new? Nope, those are still too far out. Those are 1914. Let's go ahead and get improved oil drilling so we can get a little bit of our own oil extraction. We get 6 from Hanover right now. But 3% of 6 is basically nothing. I don't know why I'm focusing on those level 1 ones. I should probably have them focus on the level 10s. Or the ones that would get us up to level 10. Okay, let's go ahead and... yeah, let's go and get our troops into position so that we can go ahead and start the Boer Revolt and the Schutztruppen or the Schutztrupp deployment as soon as possible. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and restructure Deutsch Ostafrika. So East Africa is our foremost colony, but that doesn't mean we can't do more in the area. By expanding the role and administrative powers of the colonial government, they can effectively build up the region further for us. And yes, I know I didn't read any of these. So, yeah. So, Sin Majestats, the Kaiser might be a very politically powerful man, but still has several old constitutional checks and balance, most stemming from the old days of Prussia. If we eliminate some of those loopholes and keep building our Kaiser's imperial power, he will be able to exercise control more directly over the German Empire. Political effort has nothing. Militarism has nothing right now after doing it. Same with military youth. Actually, this line doesn't appear to have anything, even for the ones that we have already completed. Or haven't completed, excuse me. How's our supply doing, though, out of general curiosity? Okay, seems fine overall. Okay, Eupen? You're only 2. Okay, and that's that stuff over there. I don't care about those so much. Let's go ahead and do Alsace-Lorraine. Okay, we got improved hand tools. Oh yes, I got heavy industry, so I could actually go ahead and put some more points into building some more factories in some provinces, so let's go in, or excuse me, states. Let's go and do that. Or maybe not. Do we not have it? No, we do, but I guess they're just already maxed out. Yeah, okay. That's fine, I suppose. Let's go ahead and get... See, artillery is important. But being ahead on manpower, I think, is generally even more important. So let's go ahead and have Mauser as our equipment designer. Designing all our infantry equipment, obviously. Let's go ahead and research Siege Heart Attack for our heavy artillery. Is it going to be helpful early on? Not really. It's not going to be too helpful until tanks come into the field, which also, that reminds me, what do I need to research tanks? I need tank prototype. Okay, but that's still 3 years out. I'll probably want to start doing it in 1913. We'll still have to deal with a bit of a ahead-of-time penalty, but it shouldn't be too bad. Let's go and renew the Triple Alliance. By this point in time, Italy's probably already done their secret pact with, secret deal with France. So we're gonna have to deal with that. They have not recognized Albania yet, I guess. Oh no, Albania actually has to exist, so that means these rebels need to win. Okay. Well, that should be happening relatively shortly. The Battle of Desik, or however it's pronounced. The Albanians have scored an upset victory over Turkish forces today. After a surprise attack on a much numerically superior Ottoman force, the Albanians lured the pursuing Turks into the nearby town of Tuzi, where, joined by rebel forces from Montenegro, they overthrew the bottlenecked forces into a retreat. The Turkish authority in the Balkans has fallen further into question as a result. The Ottoman Empire is too weak. That certainly is true. I should be noted, that's an event. I don't believe it's possible for the Ottomans to actually win that. Although I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong about that. That's just my guess. And okay, it looks like all that manpower was actually enough. Let's go and get war medicine. Bullets are not the only deadly force in combat. The grim taxman of death is well known to take his due toll on soldiers, especially in the stagnant trench warfare. Ensuring mass production of vitamins, antibiotics, and other chemical cures, and of course making sure that they all work as intended, will lead to far less easily preventable casualties for our troops, so increased recovery rate for infantry and re-equipped infantry, which we will get re-equipped infantry ASAP. Because it does not increase production costs at all, but it gives you free defense. So as soon as you research it, equip everybody with re-equipped infantry. Literally all you're doing is giving them helmets. But that's always good. Okay, I want to get rid of all these damn coastal submarines because they are crap. Okay, and Alsace-Lorraine again. Improved drilling. Wonderful. And let's see. Let's go ahead and research. No, don't bother. Let's go ahead and actually research mechanical computing because we haven't done it yet. Okay, we've renewed the Triple Alliance. It doesn't matter who I support. If I support Italy, it'll just upset Austria-Hungary, but it won't really matter. I could go and support Austria-Hungary, it'll upset Italy, but Italy's already done secret deal with France, so it really doesn't matter. We're going to go ahead and support Austria-Hungary, because why should I support Italy if they've already gone ahead and decided they're going to be buddy-buddy with the Frenchies? So, beginning a diplomatic push to further ties with Austria-Hungary will alienate Italy to a degree, but perhaps they can learn from Austria-Hungary's level of loyalty in this case. Okay, and our forts are moving along quite nicely. In fact, they should almost be done. Yeah, they are relatively close to being done. That was something about Machu Picchu, and I accidentally clicked it away because I was trying to point something out. Oh well. Machu Picchu was discovered. That's basically all that mattered. If you're quick enough, you go back. You can probably pause before I actually delete it and read it for yourself. I did not mean to click it away that quickly, but I did. So, can't really do anything about it. Okay, yeah, world tension is not going to increase until somebody decides to ruin everything. Yeah, technically it's possible for us to become fascist. In fact, we don't have to become fascist, though, with Hitler in charge. We can become fascist with Erich Ludendorff. Could not remember his name. Let's go with entrenchment. Let's get Erich von Falkenhayn, or Falkenhayn. However the hell it's pronounced. Okay, wonderful. We got extra siege attack for our heavy artillery that well, actually no, we do have equipped some units with it, if I recall correctly. We gave it to our Strasstruppen. Let's go ahead and get radio. Adopting the inventions of amateur radio operators and extending the use of FM radio will reduce radio interference and allow us to find new uses for radio technology, i.e. reinforce rate. Yeah, I did give you guys heavy artillery already, right? Yes, I did. Okay. Yeah, you're still a ways out because we're not producing a whole lot of it. We're not even producing enough a day. I need a full 5 factories to produce a day. And I'm not actually doing any of the other stuff. Oh yes, I also forgot. I have armored cars. Kind of important that I have those in here because I do have some fielded. We'll just do that. I want a full 5 rows as soon as possible for all. Okay, Adegar crisis. Provoked by the increasing power of France over the state, Moroccan citizens have begun a rebellion against Sultan... I'm not going to try and pronounce that name. As the French are preparing to lift a siege on the palace in Fez, the Germans have sent the SMS Panther to the port of Adegar in support of the rebels, claiming to be protecting German mercantile interests in the region, presuming that in the event of rebel failure, Morocco will pass to direct control by France. If nothing is done in the situation, war could break out in Europe. The tension is growing. Yes, the game is saying we could start the war right now in 1911. Will we do that? Hell no, that's a terrible idea. Just gonna leave it at that. It is an absolutely terrible, terrible idea. Also, you guys are gonna focus down that line. Also, somebody, literally anybody, needs to be fielded right up there so they can take that real quick. Okay, France offers Cameroon concession. As the Adegar crisis begins to boil over, the French have come to us with a proposition. German merchants can stay in Morocco, and we get part of the French Congo, in exchange for recognizing French control over the region. The territory is not particularly useful land by any means, but it would be a good way to save face without a declaration of war. Of course, if you want the territory so bad, mein Kaiser, we could always fight for it. So, we could go ahead and get the event for the Schlieffen Plan by starting the war, or we could say, oh, yeah, it's best to save face. And we'll get New Cameroon, which is this little thing here. This divided 2 provinces of a state, because reasons is why it's set up like that. So, we're going to go ahead and save face, because we're not really ready for a war anyway. So there we go. We got Cameroon, which we already had, and New Cameroon. And France gets Morocco. But don't worry, we'll get Morocco with the Second Treaty of Frankfurt. Okay, we've supported Austria-Hungary. Now, I can go ahead down this line and start upping our infrastructure real quick for free. Well, relatively for free at least. Or I can go ahead and continue my line down to try and get ourselves ready for launching the Boer Revolt as soon as possible, which I think I'll go that route. I don't really care too much for the assert German position in the east, because it's not that big of a deal to get down to befriend Bulgaria. So this is ready to go once the war starts. I think I'm going to go down the assert German position in the west. The Western Front is a gloomy place for the Central Powers. France and the UK have bonded against us and our interests, which hurts the German future in Africa. Worse yet, Belgium doesn't seem so willing anymore to let German troops through to crush the French, who they no longer see as a threat. We must make the most of a bad situation if we were to stay afloat as a great power. We'll get some free political power for that. But this part's already been running for 45 minutes, so we're going to be ending this part here. So I will see you guys in the next part, but until then, goodbye and farewell. Let's go ahead and save real quick. Okay, and TGW for the Great War, and we shall call it Part 1. End. Just to make sure I know that it's the end of Part 1. Okay. So yes, like I said, I will see you guys in the next part. But until then, goodbye and farewell.